This is the last video in my series on binding off in stockinette. In this swatch, again, 20 stitches, approximately 20 rows, worsted weight and size 9 needles. And what I'm going to show you now is what's called a suspended bind off. This has a tendency to be a little more stretchy and also a little bit thicker. This is a really great complement if you did a cable cast on or a knitted on cast on. This tends to look very similar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by knitting one stitch and putting it back to the needle. Now I'm going to knit these two together and place the remaining loop back to the left. Knit two together and place the loop back to the left. You can see that this gives you a little bit of a stitch that bumps up. The other thing you can do, and I like this one better, is to knit them together through the back loop and then return the stitch to the left. Remember, don't pull tight. Knit two together, return the stitch to the left. Knit two together, return the stitch to the left. And you have to be really super careful that you don't get this tight because it's easy to do, but it is a nice bind off. Let's look at the difference between the two edges. This one I did a regular knit two together, and you can see the right leg of each of the stitches from the knit two together standing out there. Over here, this is where I knit two together through the back loop, and you can see that the bind off chain stays on the top where it does not over here, and underneath each of these stitches is twisted. It's twisted because I knit two together through the back loop, and when you knit through the back loop, it twists the stitch. Let me show you that again. I'm going to take these two next stitches, there we are, and knit two together through the back loop. That loop I'm going to put back onto my left-hand needle and do it again. Knit two together, place the stitch back on the left-hand needle. And it's really important when you place it back on the left-hand needle that you don't twist it. Notice I'm going tip to tip into the stitch. So I'm just transferring it almost like it was sliding off of one needle onto the other. When you get really good at this technique, you can do it without taking the stitch off of your right-hand needle at all. Slide it back over and continue on. Notice that loop that results from the knit two together is bigger than you would think. I do that on purpose so that my bind off is loose, because one of the benefits to this is that it is stretchy. There's my final knit two together. Make that loop a little bit larger, and then just bring the remaining tail through the loop and pull it up tight. Now let's look at it. Here we are. There is our suspended bind off. This is where we did regular knit two togethers, and they leave the stitches visible, and there is no chain across the top that's very easily discerned. And here is where we switch to knit two together through the back loops. The chain stays on top from the bind off, and the stitch beneath it is twisted. It is stretchy, but it is not super loose. It does not really distort our fabric. It doesn't cause the top edge to fan out. The top and the bottom edge appear to be the same size, so when I finish this off and block it, it should lay much more flat. It also, let me find our regular bind off here. It's here somewhere. Here we are. This one is where we bound off tightly. This one is the suspended bind off. You can tell the size difference between the 2. And This one curls a heck of a lot more than this one does. Kind of a neat exercise in trying different bind-offs. Again, there are all different kinds of videos available to my paid patrons on binding off in different situations, and you can find me on Patreon as Knitting Fairy.